The latest revelations from the Epstein files raised some serious questions about the reliability of what the then Prince Andrew said in a BBC Newsnight interview.
On February 19th, 2026, Prince Andrew was arrested. By the time that day ended, something else had happened inside Buckingham Palace. Something the palace has not officially confirmed, and that almost no one on the outside fully understands yet.
We now know that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Jeffrey Epstein were in frequent contact with each other. They talked business, they mixed socially, they visited each other.
King Charles handed his son real power. Not ceremonial, not advisory, final authority. And it happened because of a scandal that has been building for years, one that now has Queen Camilla caught in the middle, whether she likes it or not. The day that changed everything. February 19th, 2026 did not announce itself as a historic day. No one inside the palace woke up expecting a transfer of power. But when the news broke that Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had been arrested on allegations that he had shared confidential government documents connected to the Jeffrey Epstein network, everything that had been quietly building inside the institution for nearly a decade came due at once. Here's the catch. Andrew's arrest was not a surprise to everyone. One person had been predicting this moment, warning about it, and being ignored about it for years. And the second Charles understood what had arrived on his doorstep, he did something no sitting British monarch has done in recent memory. He picked up the phone, called his son, and said, "This is yours to handle." Royal commentator Maren Callahan, speaking to the Daily Mail, described what followed in plain terms. Charles, he said, had effectively all but handed over the crown, preferring not to be personally involved in decisions that threatened the very future of the monarchy. But this was not weakness, and it was not sudden. It was the moment a plan that William had been quietly assembling for a decade finally snapped into place. And get this, the person most threatened by that plan was not Andrew. It was Camilla. The warning nobody wanted to hear. William had been right about Andrew for a long time, too long. After Andrew's catastrophic November 2019 BBC interview, the one where he sat across from Emily Maitlis and somehow made his friendship with a convicted sex trafficker sound even worse than it already was, William did not wait. He went directly to King Charles, then Prince of Wales, and to the late Queen Elizabeth herself. His message was not diplomatic. Andrew needed to be stripped of his royal duties immediately, not gradually, not after a review. Now. According to royal biographer Russell Myers, author of William and Catherine, palace aides had already been flagging Andrew's behavior behind closed doors for years before that interview. William had read those warnings. He had taken them seriously. And standing in front of his father and grandmother in late 2019, he laid it out as clearly as he could. If they did not act quickly, the damage to the monarchy would be irreversible. Here's the catch. Nobody listened. The Queen wanted to protect her son. Charles felt torn between his mother and the growing weight of what William was telling him. The official response was hesitation. The same institutional hesitation that has buried every royal crisis until it became too large to manage. And William walked away from that meeting, understanding something important about himself and the family he was going to inherit. If this was ever going to be fixed, he was going to have to be the one to fix it. Think about what that actually feels like, not as a policy problem, as a human experience. You spend years watching something preventable unfold in slow motion. You raise the alarm, clearly, repeatedly, with specific evidence, and the people with the power to stop it choose instead to believe the storm will pass. You cannot force them to act, so you wait, you prepare, you build the alliances and accumulate the credibility that you will need when the moment finally arrives, because you know it is coming, even if no one else will admit it. Now, in 2026, that moment arrived, and William was ready. Sources confirm that William has been the central figure in every significant decision about Andrew over the past 6 months. The removal of his titles, the eviction from Royal Lodge, the full, formal, permanent separation of Andrew from the royal institution in every meaningful sense. This is not Charles acting alone. This is William leading the strategy with his father's explicit authorization behind it. And that authorization, that transfer of real authority, did not come from nowhere. It came from a king who understood that his own time was running short. A king running out of time. King Charles III became king in September 2022 at 73 years old, the oldest person in British history to take that crown. He had waited his entire adult life for it, and almost immediately, the weight of what he was carrying became visible. In February 2024, just 17 months after his coronation, Charles was diagnosed with cancer. The palace has not publicly disclosed the specific type. What is known is that treatment began immediately, and that throughout 2024 and into 2025, Charles continued his public duties while quietly managing a medical reality that no one in the institution was prepared to discuss out loud. And get this, a month after Charles's diagnosis went public, Princess Kate announced her own cancer diagnosis. The Princess of Wales stepped back from public duties for several months of preventative chemotherapy, leaving the working royal family visibly depleted at a moment when it could least afford to look anything other than strong and stable. Here's what was happening behind that public face. According to Closer Weekly, Charles had already been considering transferring significant responsibilities to William as early as 2025. A palace source said it plainly: Charles is stubborn, and he waited his whole life for this role. But the preparations for the Wales to take operational control were already in motion. The question was not whether the transfer would happen. The question was how quickly and under what circumstances. In 2025, Charles granted William and Kate the authority to issue royal warrants, the formal mechanism by which the crown publicly endorses brands and products. Previous monarchs guarded this privilege like a state secret. Charles handed it over without ceremony or announcement. That is not a symbolic gesture. That is a king telling his heir, start acting like the institution is already yours. A source close to the family told News International that Charles is not only helping William grow into leadership, he is actively steering him through this crisis, knowing that the future of the monarchy now rests entirely with the Wales. At 77, fighting cancer, Charles is not mapping a succession onto some distant horizon. He is executing it in real time. If you want to understand exactly how fast this transition is moving, and what William intends to do the moment he holds final authority, stay with us. Because what's coming next is the part almost nobody is reporting. What William's plan. William does not want to run a monarchy the way monarchies have been run for 300 years. He wants to run it like a company, and here's the deal. That idea is more radical than it sounds. What he is actually proposing is the elimination of the unspoken rules that have protected bad behavior inside the institution for generations. No more courtiers with lifetime tenure making consequential decisions behind closed doors with no accountability to anyone. No more special treatment for family members who bring scandal to the crown. No more closing ranks when the right move is to cut someone loose. He has already tested this model at the Royal Foundation, the charity he runs with Kate. That organization has a CEO, a board, clear goals, and public reporting on outcomes. It operates the way a well-run organization operates. William wants to bring that same architecture to the monarchy itself. In October 2025, in a candid conversation with Canadian actor Eugene Levy, William said it himself: change is on his agenda. But he acknowledged the challenge, bringing meaningful transformation to an institution specifically designed to represent continuity. One former royal aide described the monarchy to a reporter as being like a jar of Marmite. The label never changes, but the contents have been quietly different every generation. William is done pretending otherwise. His management of the Duchy of Cornwall, the large estate he inherited when Charles became king, shows how he operates in practice. People close to his team describe a leader who challenges inherited assumptions constantly, demands justification for every long-standing practice, and has zero patience for tradition being used as a substitute for logic. As one insider put it, accountability and purpose are the twin standards against which everything gets measured, blood or not. Here's the catch: not. Everyone inside the palace is aligned with that vision, and the resistance does not come from where you might expect. The Camilla problem. Queen Camilla was not supposed to be an obstacle to William's plans. She was supposed to be irrelevant to them, a figure who would gracefully recede as the next generation took hold. Instead, she has become the single most significant point of internal friction between William and the monarchy he is trying to build. It comes down to one friendship. one that is 50 years old, one that William wants her to end immediately and publicly. Sarah Ferguson, the former Duchess of York, ex-wife of Prince Andrew, is not a peripheral figure in the Epstein story. Her name appears in the Epstein files released by the U.S. Department of Justice. There is no evidence of criminal wrongdoing on her part, but the documents show she had contact with Epstein, and in at least one email from October 2009, she wrote to him urgently asking for £20,000 when her businesses were struggling. Those emails exist, they are public. And in the context of Andrew's arrest, anyone visibly close to Sarah Ferguson carries that association with them. William's position is non-negotiable. Anyone connected, even loosely, even historically, to the Epstein network must be fully separated from the royal family. No exceptions for personal history, no gradations for old friendships, a clean break, visibly enforced. And get this, Camilla refuses. She and Sarah Ferguson have been friends since the 1970s, long before either of them was within 1,000 miles of a royal palace. Camilla does not see guilt by association as a sufficient reason to publicly abandon a woman who has not been charged with any crime. She values loyalty in a way that William, who is operating purely from an institutional survival framework, does not weigh the same way. According to Radar Online, William has already confronted Camilla directly about this. An insider explained that he sees her continued friendship with Sarah as an active image problem, not a private matter, not a personal choice, but a liability that undermines the entire case he is trying to make that the monarchy has changed, that it is done protecting people connected to this scandal. Camilla sees it differently. She believes ending a 50-year friendship on command for political optics is both unfair and unnecessary, and she has said so. But here's what makes the conflict genuinely complicated. In October 2025, Camilla herself was central to the decision to strip Andrew of his remaining titles, reportedly because Andrew had been actively working to undermine her public efforts to support survivors of sexual abuse. So she is capable of making hard calls. She just refuses to make them on William's timeline, within William's framework, as an expression of William's authority. That distinction is everything. William does not need a Camilla who occasionally acts when she personally agrees. He needs one who is fully aligned with the strategy, and right now, she is not. Kate versus Camilla war. While the friction between William and Camilla plays out over policy and association, a second conflict has been building in parallel, one that is more personal, more immediate, and more revealing about where power inside the palace actually sits. The conflict is between Kate and Camilla, and sources say it has been simmering for years, with the Andrew crisis finally pulling it into the open. Here's what Kate has been doing since Andrew's arrest. She has been coordinating with legal advisors on how the palace positions itself publicly. She has been working directly with palace communications staff to shape the official response. She has been in the room when decisions are made, not as a supportive presence standing next to William, but as a participant in the strategy itself. She is not waiting to become queen consort. She is already acting like one. From Camilla's perspective, that is an intrusion. An insider told the National Examiner that Camilla has never had an easy relationship with Kate, and that the crisis has pushed tensions past the point where either woman can pretend otherwise. Camilla has reportedly accused Kate directly of making her and Charles look weak, like a king and queen who need to be rescued by the next generation just to manage a crisis. And get this, King Charles does not agree with Camilla's read of it. The same source says Charles consistently defends Kate when Camilla criticizes her, arguing that Kate is simply trying to help. But Camilla is not persuaded. She reportedly becomes visibly tense whenever Kate enters a room where something important is being decided. The telling signal came in the immediate public response to Andrew's arrest. When the monarchy needed to project stability, it was William and Kate who appeared together at public engagements, not Charles and Camilla. The institution chose its face in a moment of crisis, and it was the next generation, not the current one. Here's the deal, Camilla knows what that means. She is not naive. She is watching her own influence contract in real time, and she is fighting against it. But the harder she pushes back, the more she confirms William's case that the transition needs to accelerate. In late February 2026, everything came to a head. William went to Camilla directly. The conversation was not warm. He told her she needed to make a choice, publicly distance herself from Sarah Ferguson, clearly and visibly, in a way the watching public could not miss, or accept that her continued association would actively damage the monarchy's credibility at its most fragile moment. This was not framed as a request. It was not advisory. It was an ultimatum from the future king to the sitting queen consort. Here's the catch. That kind of confrontation is simply not supposed to happen inside the palace. The heir does not issue ultimatums to the queen. That is not how the institution works. The fact that it happened, the fact that William felt authorized to deliver it, and that no one stopped him, tells you exactly how much the internal architecture of the British monarchy has already changed. Royal insiders confirm that King Charles gave William formal authority over all decisions related to the Andrew scandal and the palace's reputational response to it. There is a clear, if unspoken, agreement between father and son. Fixing this requires someone willing to act without sentiment, without hesitation, without making exceptions for people who have been around the family for decades. Charles cannot be that person, not politically, not emotionally, and not physically. So, he designated William, and get this? Camilla tried to show she was on the right side of this issue. In February 2026, she met publicly with French rape survivor Giselle Picot, presenting herself as an advocate for abuse survivors. The social media response was brutal. Critics pointed out the contradiction immediately. You cannot perform solidarity with survivors publicly while privately maintaining friendships with people whose Epstein ties are documented and public. The optics destroyed the gesture. William's position has not softened. The monarchy severs ties with anyone connected to the scandal. That rule applies to everyone. If Camilla cannot accept it, he is prepared to work around her, reduce her access to decision-making, and wait for the moment when he is king and Kate becomes queen consort. He has that authority now. Charles gave it to him. What happens next? The changes unfolding inside Buckingham Palace are not going to stop, and the version of the British monarchy that emerges from this crisis will not look like the one that entered it. When William becomes king, and the timeline for that is moving faster than any official statement acknowledges, the institution he leads will operate by different rules, a smaller working monarchy, tighter control over who carries the crown's endorsement, no tolerance for scandal, regardless of how long someone has been in the family or how personally close they are to anyone within it. The courtiers who have run this institution through gentlemen's agreements and institutional memory are being replaced by something closer to professional management. Clear lines of authority, public accountability, rules that apply to everyone, blood or not. Kate's role in that future is already visible. She is not performing the role of supportive spouse, she is co-authoring the strategy. When she becomes queen consort, her influence over institutional decisions will be greater than anything Camilla's role has been, because she is already operating that way right now, before she holds any formal title. Here's the deal. The next few months decide everything. If the monarchy navigates the Andrew scandal with genuine credibility, real accountability, visible change, a public that believes the institution has actually learned something, it could emerge stronger than it was before any of this started. If it cannot hold the line, the calls for abolition that are already present in British public life will find a much larger audience. One palace source said it plainly. Right now, the family and the country need stability. But stability is not the same as standing still. The time is coming, and it is coming soon, when William brings in the changes that make this institution worth keeping. That time is not a future event. It is already underway. Charles is still king, but William holds real authority. Camilla is still queen consort, but Kate is already in the room where it happens. The older generation is officially in charge. The new generation is already making the calls. As the Andrew scandal continues to develop, criminal proceedings still ahead, William's authority will only grow. In a crisis, people look toward whoever is actually managing it. And King Charles, with clarity and purpose, has already answered the question of who that is. The British monarchy is being rebuilt in real time. Not everyone inside it wanted this, but the person with final authority has already decided it doesn't matter. What do you think? Is William right to demand a complete break from everyone connected to the Andrew Epstein circle? Should Camilla end her friendship with Sarah Ferguson to protect the institution? And could this power shift push Charles to step down sooner than anyone expected? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, hit like and subscribe. We have ongoing coverage of exactly how fast William's monarchy is taking shape. And check out our next video on William's full plan to restructure the institution from the inside. Thanks for watching.